Well, I took a lot of time and detail, but then I always leave out a precious bit of tidbit, a pearl of wisdom, a pearl of great price. We're not really supposed to die as young as we do, per our biblical chronology, but more like to live 700, 800, 900 years old. It would have been possible, except by the fall of Adam, almost like a de-evolutionary process, because all the life won't get better the way we know because of diseases and other things. Although it won't get better, it'll get shorter. It's like whether or not we should make a human genome project and preserve our DNA in case we notice our lifespan going less than 100 years, because we have the potential to live 120 years, not just through trace minerals like the Tibetan Himalayas, the Hunsas and Titicacans get from their glacial runoff, which they water on their crops. They don't get arthritis or heart disease, and yet they eat a lot of saturated fats and yak fats and whatnot. And using different supplements that might be very beneficial to help us extend our longevity to 120. But the fact is, we haven't found any human fossil remains going from before the time of Adam, 6,000 years ago, in biblical chronology, if you follow their family history tree. And by the way, there is a genealogically family history tree that's in the Bible, and that takes us all the way back to our first ancestor, Adam. We can all trace our origins from these roots. And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has the most accurate family tree, that going back to him, of any civilization or of any church. That's because they have the fullness of the everlasting gospel of Christ. And modern revelation through Joseph Smith and other Latter-day Saint prophets. So, if we had found a fossil older than 7,000 years, then the scientists are going to say this fossil only lived 100 years old, only lived 60 years, 70 years maybe, not a very long lifespan. I think they just assumed that a human who had been born before 6,000 years ago didn't have an intelligent language, couldn't sing, write poetry, had mediocre farming, agriculture. It's like, but they want to say that cavemen, it's like we're doing it all, hunting and flints, arrowhead making and things like that, although we've never found any of those things to trace back to these hominid creatures that we could say in mass meant something. And okay, but Adam lived 1,000 years. Noah lived more like, what, 800? The next patriarch after the flood of Noah, where he sailed from America over to Europe after the flood and reestablished from the Garden of Eden there to the Old World, and started the Holy Land. Egypt just being a descendant of Canaan, or Ham's descendant who got on the ark, preserved the line of Cain, that his skin had been, a curse had been put upon him that affected his genome of his posterity, differently than that of those who came through the line of Adam's other sons. So, although Canaan, the city, is gone now because of the flood, it was the city of Enoch that had been taken up into heaven before the flood. So there's a whole city but I can't help but thinking that there would be more cities if Adam wasn't the first person. It's like, so if we had found a fossil of human chronology, maybe to the time of Egypt, it's like shortly after Abraham, people were just living 100 years or less. But Abraham was living about 200 years, and so were the first Egyptians. So if we can find those mummies and check their DNA, we would find that they had the capacity, that they were living about 200 years or more. Those pharaohs, those first pharaohs in Egypt, because after Noah stepped off the ark, and finally those civilizations were founded, they had the DNA lineage from Cain, not just from Adam. And so that's why they had a darker skin. It's like, as no scientist has ever stepped up to the plate and found any of these fossils, or else they would know how long a time these fossils had lived, or these human remains had been around in real life. Like those first Egyptian mummies their bones might show that they had lived 200 years, or maybe 150, or even 130, something like that. So science is going to religion is going to disprove a lot of things that scientists would try to pass off on us. It's like that they had found a shoe in the old land dating back sometime after the flood of Noah. It's interesting. But did you know, on YouTube, they have found a cave near the original site of the Garden of Eden, or Jackson County, Missouri. That cave has sandals in it. I don't know if they're I think they were leather make, and not the grass or the cow, not grass or cowhide, and they were non-Native American. I think those sandals might be either the Jaredites from the Book of Mormon, who came here after the time of Noah, when the Tower of Babel had been confounded, or it might even be from Adam's posterity itself. It's like something has the potential to last 7,000, 6,000 years or more. Maybe even 8,000 years or more. And so, thank you for listening, and I hope that I've thrown some relevant material on the table. It's like, but I asked myself, when did those first, it's like, if we're descended from science and not from a higher power, like the stars are, then, and we're older than our human progeny goes back more than 6,000 years. Like, when was the first kiss? It's like, when did the first husband and wife decide to remain celibate and not have children? It's like, when was the first debate? What were they talking about? Water rights? It's like, who wrote their language? And it's like, didn't they ever believe in God? What was their religion? Was it safe to be there? Or would they have been treated like Abraham, who almost got sacrificed to a false god in around Egypt by his uncle, who in the Doctrine and Covenants, or the Pearl of Great Price, is found in papyrus records, that's owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, although the papyrus records are now burned up in the museum, from the museum. It's almost too good to be true to think that there were people going back there, farming or agriculturing, quite a few, there must have been quite a few of them. It's like, and if longevity was true, it's like, how did the Egyptians get started? It's because they lived a very long time. It's like their ancestors had lived 200 years after the flood of Noah. Noah having lived 700 years. And it's like, well, who knew? So, thank you for listening.